Welcome back, guys, to the IOST podcast. We have another great episode this week, number 17. We've done a lot. I'm coming live from Virginia. Dimitri is in Pittsburgh. Mike is somewhere in Colorado, correct?
Yeah, I think so. We're about to call him in, actually. We're still considering that. He's still in the Colorado Springs.
Yeah, hopefully he comes back with some goodies. So the first thing I want to say, go USA. We beat the Netherlands, so I'm not wearing like a Netherlands jersey or some stupid thing I said it in the Telegram chat. But
Let's go.
Yeah, so we beat the Netherlands. We have a ton of followers from there. But yeah, we have a packed episode this week. Did you want to get anything out before I go into this, Dima?
No. Well, I mean, we had a great interview. So
Right.
That went really well. Lots of things we talked about in terms of US and Asia and dApps on IOST and along those lines. So it was a really good one. Turned out really well.
Yeah, it was Alan from IOST Cash. I think IOST Cash was released sometime like around 2 weeks ago. Basically, you can complete surveys and get IOST in return. It's a great new dApp that's come to our ecosystem. We've always been talking about gambling dApp, and now we actually have dApps that are providing real great service to the users. So we have Alan and IOST Cash at the latter half of the episode. We want to talk about contribution rewards really quick, and then we're going to get into some topics that include a bunch of staking services and partner nodes that are coming into the ecosystem. We have a AMA with May, the marketing director from IOST. We have Dimitri's desk, as usual. We have the IOST dApp roundup and comments from last week. So are we ready to do this, Dima?
Let's rock, man. Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's rock. Let's roll. All right. So the contribution rewards, basically what we wanted to tell you guys was the results are imminent based on the timeline of the Q1 contribution rewards. I think we kind of sat down here and talked about it pre-episode. We should probably be seeing results around the 15th or 17th, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's a normal time frame. I'm looking at the last time. Obviously, they're going to review everything in detail, and then there's going to be that dispute time frame as well, and we will get an official announcement from IOST. So
yep. So I think there was actually a final rankings too that came out like post dispute, like you're saying, that came out on the 24th. So anytime after the 24th, I think they start distributing those tokens for tier 1, tier 2, all the way through 5.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which ones will make it, which ones what the shuffle will be from the previous one, because we've added more nodes, more high quality nodes that are delivering big. So it'll be interesting to see that change and how the rankings are actually going to come out, because from last contribution rewards, when the submissions opened, some nodes didn't even submit anything. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out too.
Yeah, it's going to be tightly contested, a little bit more contested than those Q1. I feel like those are pretty clear cut. So you guys are doing, you guys out there listening, you guys out there watching, you guys are doing your part. You can share these podcasts, you can share our Twitter posts and things like that. That really helps our standing within IOST and helps us maintain that tier 1 status. So we appreciate you guys so far. We'll get into the topics now. So a ton of news over the past week. It was based on staking. So staking is actually a huge benefit. We talked about it in the latter half of the podcast, but actually a huge benefit for IOST in that it has a great staking kind of token economic model. So we had a ton come into the ecosystem. We had Infinity Stones, we had Rock State, and we had Coin In. And we'll talk about all three real quickly. What was your kind of initial thought when you read through these articles?
It's amazing. We always talk about staking and how important it is to bring those services to IOST. If you think about it, you have basically the staking services that already provide, service to user base that have a certain amount of money already invested in crypto. So when you bring in more of these staking services and start offering IOST, that's essentially, adding more capital to the ecosystem that is IOST. And, the one that really caught my attention right off the bat is the Infinity Stones. These guys are really legit. They're a block producer on EOS right now. They're current rank as of today, let me see. They're sitting like at number 7.
Yeah.
So they have tons of votes. Obviously, they have quite a bit of capital under
Yeah.
management. What was the number that you gave me earlier?
Yeah, so I could pull that up here. Basically, from the article, pulled directly from the article, it says Infinity Stones is currently serving 20 institutional investors or customers, running staking services on 10 proof of stake blockchains with over $500 million worth of tokens delegated to the platform. So I was kind of asking you this, before we came live, but that's essentially these big time high net worth individuals that they're serving. Do those individuals send tokens to a contract, and then Infinity Stone chooses to vote for whatever producers, in this case themselves? Is that how this works?
Well, that depends, because from their side, what they're trying to do is they're trying to provide the most competitive return, right? So, and given the structure of how IOST is giving out rewards, right, it can't be just, hey, I'm just going to vote all of the votes into myself and be the biggest block producer. And that's how I'm going to generate the most rewards. And I'm just going to do that. I think what they're going to do is they're going to allocate probably some for themselves. Right now, they're sitting at rank 45. I think so. There's 11 million votes. Yeah. And, but what they're going to do is they're going to figure out basically the formula, what's going to generate the most yield for staking multiple nodes. So it's not going to be
Got it.
just, the top 10, top 20 or whatnot,
So,
with EOS.
so they could technically vote all of it for yourself, but what you're saying, that's kind of an inefficient process.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Because
gotcha.
then essentially, they could do that, but they're really not generating the most competitive percentage for their clients. Because as we get more of these staking services established, they're going to start being competitive in terms of how much are they given to their clients. So
Got it.
hey, if these guys are giving me 12%, but the other guys are giving me 5% because they voted everything for themselves. Like
Got it.
so it's
Interesting.
yeah. So it's going to be good. It's good business model, and
Okay.
the way IOST is designed, essentially, it prevents that that issue like we have maybe with other protocols where essentially you just vote for yourself and then you generate
Got it.
rewards. So
That could provide an interesting problem for IOST. We had this discussion, I think, when we were headed to New York, but a program like Celsius, like lending like Celsius, where they're trying to get a not only on top of your lending reward, but staking rewards is too. They can't set a certain amount because that amount is constantly shifting. Correct? Like,
right.
and they would need to do a lot of due diligence to see what they think which node is going to get tier 1, blah 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 blah. It's not as easy as stake and go or something like that.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. And I think I believe that is the reason why they don't have EOS on here. Yeah, let me see. Yeah,
They don't have EOS. I know that for a fact because I'm trying to and I don't know where to do it. So
yeah.
anybody wants to lend my EOS, set up a smart contract, I'm ready to do it. So it's interesting because Infinity Stones is more based towards institutional customers. Like they said, somewhere around 30 customers that they provide a service for. Whereas CoinIn is going to be a staking service for retail. They kind of have a dashboard where you can view all of these different proof of stake platforms and where you can vote and things like that. So CoinIn is going to be the only one that's not also going to be a partner node, I believe. Rock Stake, which we'll get to here in a second, is trying to be a partner node. What did you think about CoinIn?
Yeah, no, that's great. So we have, essentially the institutional side of it, and then we have the retail side to it. Basically, it's giving exposure to IOST from both ends. From a retail perspective, if I'm on this website and I'm using their services and I'm happy and suddenly I see IOST, wow, great, let me check it out. And then essentially from there, you start attracting more retail contributors. It makes it easy for them, obviously, because they don't have to do lots of research in terms of, okay, how am I going to do this? Who should I vote for? And all those things, right? They can just, set it and forget it, essentially.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. So an important point so we can get off with the staking. I know we've been on it for a little while. This Rock Stake is going to be also another. It's going to be another like staking as a service platform. I don't know if it's institutional or retail. I believe it's institutional. They said they have 13.5 million votes, which ranks them ahead of actually Infinity Stone. So that's somewhere in the vicinity of what, 150K.
Yeah, something like that at current prices.
Okay.
But it'll be interesting to see how Infinity is going to perform. I doubt they're going to stay at the ranking where they are right now. So, um, given their kind of the scale, I think they're still they're gonna be in the somewhere at least top 15.
Okay.
So
Awesome. All right. So moving on, we have that BPAL AMA with May, the marketing director for the IOST. What did you think about that AMA? Did you take any tidbits specifically from that AMA?
yeah, they cover a lot of stuff here. One thing that really caught my attention was the question number 3: what is IOST's plan in the next half year as Q3 around the corner?
Mm.
And they basically outline that IOST users are going to see something big in the near future. And then they talk about how they're going to have essentially a regular communication with IOST nodes and make sure that the goals are outlined clearly, like monthly, quarterly, yearly, in terms of the expectations, how do we best grow together, utilize all the resources, which is great because more communication between nodes, between IOST team, we can gather all our resources and really kind of be on the same page when it comes to making it a better ecosystem. So that was really really good part that I'm excited about.
Do you feel like that's like a constant issue? Do you think this is an issue that actually deserves to be addressed by the IOST team?
Absolutely, yeah. I think, so different nodes are specialized in different things. Some of them obviously do content, some of them actually develop, some of them do other things. They have different resources and different skills, but I feel like right now there's really not that much communication between those nodes. And, there's communication obviously between the nodes and IOST, but where we all get together and as nodes and we discuss that, we had that in the beginning, like when the mainnet launched. But past that, we haven't really had that sit down where we get together and really share all of these things, thoughts and goals, and where we should be going using all of our resources. So it's great.
Yeah, I love that. There was actually an interesting discussion in the Sutler Ventures chat. That's a great spot that we have like really in-depth conversations. I feel like the general chat can get kind of muddy, and I take my hat off to all the admins in there.
Oh yeah,
answering the same damn questions every 5 seconds from people in there and wondering where their IOST went.
shout out to Chris.
Yeah, shout out to Chris, shout out to Dimitri, and the admin in there, not you, but
yeah. Oh man.
but yeah, I really like this little AMA. It was short and quick. I think they only asked like 3 questions. They did say something about IUSD as well, being that they're going to develop more on IUSD and have it more part of the ecosystem going forward. I know there was like an announcement about almost probably like 2 months ago about IUSD launching, but since then we haven't seen much use of IUSD. Some of that has to do with the tokens on the network, or the DApp tokens on the network needing to be used as well. Like you really can't have that stable coin unless it's like a standalone feature that which you don't see much of. So when these DApp tokens really start to be used, when these DApp usage starts to pick up, you'll see IUSD, I feel like, be a pair on a DEX for IOST and things like that.
Yeah, actually, really quick. Speaking of that, Unblock is working.
Yeah.
So I guess they heard our voices and listened to our podcast last time, and they've actually have an exchange working. They're already trading volume on there, so that's great to see. But to your point, yeah, IUSD, when it first came out, I was super excited. I really talked about the importance of having a stable coin on IUSD network. So I'm glad to see that more from their team, that they're focusing on building that out more. Essentially, what it is, you build this as a foundation. So these dApps, yeah, some of them use their own tokens, but not necessarily, all of them will use or have their own tokens. They'll some of them I'm looking forward to having, like a stable coin as a use, for services or whatnot, to use that dApp. Having that stable coin makes it easy because then you don't have to worry about the volatility of that token that you're holding, that you're buying to get access to those services or whatnot. So essentially, it's a foundation that it gives an opportunity for these developers or the tech to be established, using the stable coin when it's needed. So they're essentially shifting focus, to that, to make sure that it's ready to go once the demand is there. And and then they're actually talking about how they're going to integrate with IUSD and Tether, and then Trust, and then
USDT.
USDT, all of these main ones. So it's great. So you can change in between all of them as well. So
nice.
Overall, it's great.
Yeah, to your point about on block, really quick, the market, like you said, is live. The order books, basically, they started off with something completely different than I thought they would do. I thought they were going to implement the tokens. It was going to kind of be our own little version of IOST DEX with all the tokens of the games that they have on their platform. That didn't occur at all. The markets that they have right now are USDT, BTC, and ETH. With IOST mixed in there, having its own pair on each of those. So not too much volume at the moment. It does have for the USDT market, it has 2 Bitcoin, ETH about 14 ETH, IOST about 8,000 ETH, or 8,000 IOST. So not the strongest volume, but I mean, it started yesterday. So everything, has its start and finish. What do you think about not having a private key for these wallets that you're exchanging on?
I mean,
about that?
Yeah, it's obviously, a concern, and it's something like it's an elephant in the room that everybody, doesn't really talk about. But I think just in general, I think a lot of people, kind of okay with it now, even though it is concerning when we have these issues with hacks and so on, right? Where money gets stolen. Actually, as a matter of fact, I just read today, a Polish exchange closed down, and they had some money there, obviously. So nobody knows what has happened there as of now. But like issues like that is when people start like asking questions like, well, what about these? What about the security or private keys and so on? But I think in general people don't really care that much unless it's a substantial amount of money, and then you store it in a cold wallet or whatnot.
Yeah, I think obviously we talk about decentralization a lot in trustlessness, but if you're going to have a system that doesn't have private keys, then you need to be a super trustful company, not a trustless company in the sense that they need to have we need to know who the hell they are. They need to be the most public faces imaginable, or else you're kind of saying, okay, I don't have any private keys and I don't know who the hell these guys are. So
yeah, exactly. So that's a big concern. Basically, be a CZ,
Yeah, that's a perfect. Yeah, no, you're right. That's exactly the right one. It always goes back to Binance. I feel like
yeah, exactly. That's the benchmark. That's the benchmark.
Oh yeah, our token economic model is like a BNB like token.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, great.
That became a buzzword of itself,
Definitely. So hey, we're gonna run into Dimitri's desk really quick. So let's see your episode and let's see what IOST and a bunch of those other tokens have in store.
Let's go.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Dimitri's Desk, where we cover price action in crypto markets. And as always, we're going to start off with IOST USD on a daily chart. As you can see, we are still within this same range that we've been talking about for almost like ages now, feels like. Last time we had our podcast, we went up about 16% all the way wicked up to 1.4, which is essentially the top of the range that we have marked here that we've been talking about for a while. And then also, OBV is still looking good, even though it's a little bit of a sideways movement. We have ADX still within reasonably same levels, bouncing between below 20 and about 30. So nothing really significant here. We're still within the sideways movement on IOST USD. A couple of things that are coming up for IOST in terms of fundamentals. We have a lot of staking services are coming online. So it'll be interesting to see how the volume is going to reflect that. If the OBV, the buying volume, is going to remain high, and then we can maybe finally break out of this range as this develops further. Now let's switch to the beast, BTC USD. Last time we were talking about how we were testing that 10K mark, and we wicked down. Essentially, that was the low, 96.51. I have marked right here. We tested that, bounced right off that. Now we're climbing higher. I'm looking forward to seeing new highs above 13K, above 14K, and essentially the next resistance level I have outlined here is 14.5K. For BTC. So BTC looking really strong. Obviously, I don't have to tell you that. OBV, everything looks good. ADX is above 20. It's a clearly trending market condition for BTC USD. All the moving averages look good. So if you're taking positions, obviously do it according to the market conditions, which is currently trending for BTC USD. Next one, we have ETH USD. So ETH is actually falling to, again, the sideways movement. Even though we broke out of this range that I was talking about before, we did test the range. Now we're still kind of moving sideways. So we have ADX that is around that 20 mark, which is signifying sideways movement. We have OBV, again, showing that sideways movement. There's really, the bulls and bears are kind of toughing it out. The buying and selling volume is relatively the same or equal on daily basis. So that's why we're getting the sideways movement. So this is what I was talking about when the price action broke out here and OBV was not reflecting that commitment. That's what I was saying, that it is perhaps time to wait to pull the trigger for the buy side on ETH USD. So I'm still looking at this very closely. We'll see how that's going to develop. We have the 50-day moving average that was supporting this testing as well. So for now, I'll put that on hold. EOS USD, again, this is as choppy range as it gets. We're looking at EOS below the 50-day moving average as far as the price action goes. OBV is really not showing much within that same range that we have outlined. ADX is essentially showing range, and we can see that by candlesticks. In fact, there's a lot of wicks, a lot of price action where it moves back and forth within a short period of time. So essentially, what happens when you have a market condition like that, eventually you break out up or down, because if the price is held within a small, tight range where you see a lot of wicks, that can signify a breakout that might be coming soon. And when that happens, it'll be interesting to see, are we going to break out to the top or at the bottom? Even though looking at it, moving averages 50 is above 20 on a daily, so that's a really good sign. But we'll have to see until that day comes. Now, talking about BTC and its dominance, obviously it has been crazy. And a lot of people talk about how they trade alts against BTC, and that's something that I mentioned before. You got to be very, very careful when you do that, because with the dominance level that BTC has right now, you're basically, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So just to give you an idea right here, just taking a look at all these pairs right now that I have on CoinMarketCap against BTC, they're just bleeding out. That can be due to the fact that BTC is climbing, and a lot of these traders that held these positions for some time, they're re-rotating into BTC because they don't want to miss that run up that we're going to have on BTC. So, and especially if you have some of these coins that are not delivering on promises and not delivering on tech or roadmap thing, roadmap goals, you have that rotation essentially. So a lot of people are getting out and trying to catch this run in BTC, and that's what you see. Essentially, a lot of red blood is on the streets for alt pairs. And for last thing, as always, BTC dominance, we're all the way up to 64.22%. And we continue to climb. As you can see, everything else is continuing to drop. So, believe what the chart tells you. If we're in this trending market condition, do not try to front run this and essentially pick the top or pick the bottom. Because this is actually a typical mistake for new traders, where they try to call the top or they try to call the bottom, but they usually get run over. I was reading that the BTC latest pop was actually due to a lot of liquidations because people were trying to pick the top to short it, which is a perfect example. So be very careful when you're positioning, especially when you're trading BTC, because we're right now in a very strong market trending condition to the upside. All right, guys, as always, thanks for tuning in, and let me know in the comments what you guys think of the current market conditions, what time frames you guys use or indicators, and I'll catch you guys next week.
All right, we're back from Dimitri's desk. Yeah, we're all are we going up or down? What's going on? I didn't get a chance to watch it yet.
We know for sure that the chart will go to the right.
So 100%.
Yeah, okay. we'll see more candles.
Nice, man. That's cool. I really like the evolution of Dimitri's desk. So I'm hoping the others like it as well. So we're gonna hop into the next topic. We got 2 topics left. We're gonna make it real quick for you guys. We're gonna start with this DApp roundup. The DApp roundups kind of are a little bit redundant based on the bi-weekly report, but like one thing that I want to talk about here really quickly is the number of transactions. That's 80 million on-chain transactions from the start of the mainnet. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we always like to compare that to others, and as we've seen, as I mentioned before, that given these numbers, we're well, competitive between the top 4 blockchains, networks. So we're, that's great. We're seeing solid numbers here on the biweekly report. We see dApps increasing, obviously at 32 now. So
for sure,
all around it's good. One thing that we do talk about on our interview with IOST Cash is some of the struggles that dApp users are having, especially the English speakers. So that's something that you'll obviously hear us discussing on an interview. Some of these dApps that are not translated, that essentially could gain more users, in English speaking countries.
I honestly thought one of the best questions you had was, why did you choose IOST? And it was interesting that he said that the TPS, the transaction per second, was the initial thing that kind of brought him over to the network. So obviously, if it's happening with one person, it could happen with others. So that might be something that we should obviously keep pushing to dApp developers.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to spoil the interview, but there are great things as well after that question from his end. So it's interesting from developers' end to see how the integration happens with IOST. So
yeah, that was just a taste of the interview. So we got Endless Game IOST ranking in the top 10 across all networks based on, I believe, users here. So we've had that discussion multiple times, but it's good to see Endless Game ranking in the top 10. There's a couple other dApps here that I haven't really checked out: IOST Fish and Block Jump. They're just your standard, dApp gaming and gambling platforms. So maybe they'll make their way onto the dApp rankings shortly.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, we'll get to comments from last week. Now, do you want to take this, or you want me to do it?
No, go for it, man.
Oh, okay. Well, I expected that, I guess. All right. So it says, so this is from last week's episode. It says Electric Funk. Just passed the 150K staked mark last night. Let's go, boys. So Electric Funk, I just want to, we just want to take the time out really quickly to thank you for staking to Sutler Ventures. That helps us, again, stay in that tier 1 category, and it really helps us be visible to the community, essentially. So thanks for that.
And I bet he's looking forward to the quarterly rewards, just like everybody else. So that's coming up. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Meta Crypto. He says, another great episode, Sutlerites. Keep it up. Would you mind bringing in Alan from IOST Cash? He's doing something unique with his DApp, earning IOST by filling out surveys and watching ads. Finally, a non-gaming/gambling DApp on IOST. He's a college student at Rice University. So we listened to the community there, didn't we?
Yep. Surprise.
Yeah, so that we listened to you guys. We listened to that comment. Thanks, Meta Crypto, as always. Constant commenter there. And what do we have here at the bottom, Dima?
Is that Chris? Just thumbs up. Smash that thumbs up button.
Just a simple thumbs up from Chris. That's very mysterious. I don't know what he's thumbs upping. He could be thumbs upping every time that you say essentially on this podcast.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Essentially he's liking, yeah.
Exactly. Essentially, he likes our podcast when he's giving us a thumbs up there. So thank you, Chris, and thank you to all our commenters that have left comments and likes on all the videos that we've uploaded to YouTube, the ones that are listening through distributed media on iTunes, as well as Sutler Ventures on iTunes. So you got anything to say to the community before we pop off here?
Yeah, stay tuned for the next week. Maybe we'll bring out Mike again. We'll see how that goes. So. But let us know in the comments.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you on next week's episode of the IOST podcast. All right, everybody, we're back here for the second segment of our podcast. This is going to be an interview, a very highly recommended interview from our community. This is going to be an interview with Alan from IOST Cash. Alan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're on summer break and you're getting a lot of stuff done. So we want to ask you a couple questions. So first of all, please just give us a brief introduction into IOST Cash. What is it? Where did you get the idea, and where are you guys going from here?
Yeah, so I got the idea from back in high school. There's these apps where you can basically do surveys and watch videos for gift cards and stuff. And since I got into the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry lately, I want to create something that can give back to the IOST community by doing the same concept, by completing surveys, watching videos, and doing ads. And it's completely risk-free, and that's the reason why I created it, because IOST is mostly filled up with gambling dApps, and I really wanted to create something that was more unique for this.
Yeah, we talk about that quite a lot when it comes to dApps. First, we talk about, we have all these gambling dApps. When are we going to see something different? So it's great to see something different and being built on IOST. Just a follow-up question with that. So how did you find out about IOST, and why did you pick IOST?
I think I read about it on a Finance Yahoo article about how IOST has one of the highest TPS blockchains there are, and that's what really attracted me, because a lot of these cryptocurrencies are white paper coins that they don't have a working product, but because IOST can back up its high TPS, and I feel it's a really great project, and I just want to give back to the community.
When was that when you first found out about it?
I think it was in when they released the mainnet in February. I read about it.
I see.
So there's a couple other networks that obviously have tackled the scaling issue as well. Why not choose another network like an EOS or other scalable blockchains and go with IOST?
Well, I didn't want to go with EOS because most of the community felt EOS was not really a decentralized currency, but more centralized. And honestly, when I looked at the SDK and the API for IOST, it was much easier to implement, and it was much cleaner code. And I feel that really allowed me to push out the product much quicker.
That's great. Yeah, we talk about it quite a bit as well. In terms of how easy it is to integrate with IOST and how they make it easy to integrate certain things. And it's great to hear from your side that it was essentially a breeze.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, just overall going forward for IOST, what do you think in terms of like the challenges that they have right now, and in the future that they need to tackle to really perform? We've seen really like 30 dApps created right now. Most of them are gambling. They're still working on more. Obviously, we have Burmy coming through later this year, which is huge. What do you see for IOST and some of the challenges that we're facing?
I think the main issue is like adoption, because I know IOST partners with a lot of companies based in Asia, and I constantly read about it on Twitter. But like, if no one's actually using the product, then it doesn't really achieve like mainstream adoption. So I feel like by like doing like a community appeal and like allowing more users to experience the platform, experience the currency, I feel like we can get more mainstream adoption, and that will boost the not only to boost the price but also the usage of IOST itself.
I love what you said about choosing IOST, and one of the reasons not going with another network being that decentralization. I think we're doing that pretty well with kind of the way that they have the contribution reward set up for the nodes, as well as kind of the continuous build out of all these nodes that are coming in to the network. I think we're building like a really solid base where it's not being like taken over completely right in the first 6 months or right in the first year. And that's a solid foundation. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. Also, I feel like I know that IOST is like one of the best staking coins there are, and like the staking process for IOST is very easy. Like compared to like other coins, you don't have to like set up a node or anything. You just do it within the app or on iWallet. And I feel like that's really great for new users and inexperienced users to start joining the IOST community because it's so easy.
Yeah. Going with what you said in terms of IST obviously being Asian-based project, and for the adoption, one of the biggest challenges that we talk about is how do we attract more users from US side and more developers from US side, because essentially IOST is quite popular over there, and they're building a lot of applications there and track users within Asia, but within US, it seems like there's quite a bit of struggle. And what do you think is the strategy should be, or what IOC should be doing, or nodes should be doing to make that better in US?
Yeah, I know there's a couple sites like news sites for IOST. I feel like that's a really great like start, like being able to push to US audiences. And also I feel like there should be more integration with the US side. Like I know like a lot of the apps, like the dApps that come out on IOST are like in Chinese or like the foreign languages. And I feel like it's hard for like US audiences to be part of that. And I feel like if developers just push more to the US side, there's a lot of like financial institutions and money to be poured into IOST that could significantly boost the price.
There were a couple news outlets that released like Chinese only versions of things that came out, and there was no English text.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that.
We were like, what the heck?
Yeah,
Saw that too.
Yeah, it's really a struggle because like I know Chinese, but like it's definitely hard, like because like most of the financial money into cryptocurrency comes from US, and it's people don't invest, they don't know what they're reading, so that's an issue.
Yeah, definitely. We were talking about that on the last podcast because the Chinese, there was like a Chinese announcement about that Libra integration that we had, but in Chinese it's pretty much just Chinese text and then Facebook and IOST.
Yeah, I saw.
So it's pretty funny, but that's pretty cool that you know Chinese. That I feel like that gives you a huge advantage over other developers and other people in the cryptocurrency space. Do you think that helps you?
Yeah, like sometimes like Token Pocket like it glitches into Chinese, and like it's I feel like it'd be really hard for like a lot of users since they use Token Pocket and they don't know what they're reading. And like I feel like people should push to more English, like adding English translation so more audiences can be reached.
You can imagine how challenging it is for Q to do rankings when it comes to dApps, because he puts that out. And obviously a lot of them are in Chinese. So
yeah,
it's a little bit hard to really test it out and see what it's all about when there's no really translation in place. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So what's your outlook as far as crypto in general? What you see over like the next coming years? I know you talked about staking. I feel like that's like a huge, obviously market that's emerging within cryptocurrency. Is that what you see on like the near term, and what do you think of on long term with these scaling networks and where they're going?
Like compared to like the 2017 bull market, I feel like right now we're more mature since like in 2017 there were like ICOs left and right, and there's just money pouring into projects that like most of them died eventually. And I feel like now like in this bull market, people are becoming kind of smarter and they don't just blindly invest into any ICO they see. We have IEOs now, which are more secure, and we have STOs launching soon. So I feel like there's more financial money coming and it's much smarter. And I feel like people, by investing into real projects that have long-term applications, I feel like that's definitely a good sign for cryptocurrency in general.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's funny. We talk about the top 100, market cap quite often, and how many tokens are there and where they are placed right now. And when you take a closer look at them, they're really just like ghost towns. There's no community. Nobody's really using it. Why is the market cap so high? Basically it's just people, trading between each other without any use of that network or whatever it would promise to do. So, there's definitely going to be a little bit of a shuffle, when things, when the time comes, and we're clear out the market cap rankings, for sure. But so tell me a little bit more about IOST Cash. So how much money can I make on this?
Well, right, we started off as only offering surveys, and these surveys pay from 20 IOST to 500. So that's around like, I think like $2 to $3 to like $50 or $5. So basically, users would just complete the surveys, and they usually take around 10 to 15 minutes, and then they're instantly rewarded with the IOST. But right now we're also adding, we have added ads, like short little video ads that reward, I think 0.3 IOST. They take 5 seconds to do. And I feel like people like to do like videos because they're much easier, they're quicker. You don't have to like fill out personal information. So people definitely like the ads more. And we're trying to integrate more ad services so we can deliver more ads consistently and to other foreign countries as well.
Nice. And what do you do with these surveys? So what's the other end of it?
Yeah, so we use a survey provider, and they keep track of all the data. I don't have access to the data. I can't sell it either. They just they pay me, and I pay back 95% of the revenue back to the users. I just take a 5% cut to maintain servers and yeah.
Nice. Is it like targeted in any way in terms of like the surveys or ads, or is that something that they control on their end?
Yeah, the surveys are targeted. Before you open the survey, you have to fill out a little questionnaire, and you like fill out like your gender, your age, and then using that information, they can target ads specifically to you. And by targeting it, the ads they generate more revenue, so you actually get paid more by selecting targeted surveys.
That's awesome.
So did you like cold call this survey provider pretty much and say, hey, I want to do this, I'm going to set up this network essentially where you have these users and I'm going to pay them in cryptocurrency? And did they know about crypto at all?
Yeah. I just emailed them, and they're like, they're pretty open to it. They're like, yeah, we'd love to have you on the platform. And they just, I got an account, and I was just able to integrate it pretty easily.
Yeah, that's interesting because, when you're doing this, you're really targeting the crypto community, right? Somebody who's aware, of IOST or, tokens essentially. So it'd be interesting to know, how they're using that data. They're specifically targeting, those users and asking them specific questions or surveys to target market them more, Is that something did you talk to them about, crypto in general? Did they know anything about it, or?
I don't think they really knew anything about like cryptocurrency. They just wanted to like, cause they obviously take a cut off the surveys as well. So they just want to make money.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty pragmatic. So we always start the episode with saying this is not investment advice. Dima also does that in his TA that he does for IOST and a couple other coins. But so not investment advice. What other coins are you invested in, or that you see, are coming up in the next 6 months to a year? What that you see?
Okay, let me take a look at my portfolio.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
Yeah.
Definitely. A category of coins I would like to see are exchange-based coins. Like Binance Coin is already a too high of a market cap to see any like substantial gains. But since Binance is like closing to U.S. customers, I feel like exchanges that offer U.S. customers access after September will really skyrocket. Like KuCoin, Ocean Exchange. I'm not really sure about the rest, but yeah,
Yeah.
Ocean Exchange is one of the really good ones because they have a low market cap. They allow U.S. users, and their exchange is looking pretty good right now.
I feel like we've been saying that about Binance since like $12.
Yeah, yeah. Binance somehow just always defies the odds and keep going up.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point on OceanX. I think one of our other commenters actually left a couple comments about OceanX, right, Dimitri?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because, with Binance being out of US, to a certain extent, how are the other exchanges going to be, working with US given the regulation structure? If Binance is pulling out, then how long can KuCoin and the others, carry on essentially doing that stuff? When do they have to become compliant essentially?
Yeah, another category I feel like that's gonna come up soon are like coins that are backed by STOs, because like security tokens they're getting permission from like the SEC to deliver these coins, and they're backed by real value. So I feel like that's gonna be the new phase of ICOs, and like coins like Swarm and I just know Swarm. I feel like that's gonna be a really good investment because like people are more willing to invest in solid backed coins than just ICO coins that are printed out of nothing.
Yeah, it's quite surprising. We've been talking about STOs for quite some time, and there were some STOs that came out, but we haven't really seen like a big splash, right? Like IEOs essentially. IEOs kind of took over that side, and that became like the new hot stuff. But STO is still kind of young. We haven't really seen something blow up like the IEOs are, which is interesting. I'm still looking forward to seeing a really good STO and then that market picking up. But
we're just all waiting for the almighty SEC to figure their stuff out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And regulators like to take their time. Obviously, there's a lot of paperwork involved, so I can see that process being obviously dragged out. But slowly but surely, we're moving.
Yeah. So from a user perspective, how much can I think Dima said this in the beginning, but how much can I actually earn on IOST Cash? Is there a cap limit per day? What has been the response from the community so far?
Yeah, right now there's no cap on the number of ads and surveys you can complete a day. Like I have people like doing like 200, 300 IOST per day. But there's also bad actors. They abuse the quick 5-second ads, and I constantly get pinged like from the system that like people are just using like bots to click on the ads, and they try to withdraw like 10,000 IOST at a time. And yeah, that's why we added phone authentication and reCAPTCHAs, so people just can't bot their way to getting free IOST.
Gotcha. So that's how you combated the bots, just a mobile phone number and that reCAPTCHAs?
Yeah. Yeah, we use the phone number because people have like, I noticed people have like hundreds of IOST accounts, and they just refer themselves, and each time they refer themselves they get 25 IOST, and they're just abusing the referral system. So yeah, that's why we added phone.
Interesting.
These bots are everywhere. You have to fight them off all the time. That's a great application, for somebody who, can just watch a couple ads and really, pick up IOST. That's amazing. What have you done to kind of spread the word about it? Have you reached out to the IOST team or, done anything else to kind of increase your user base?
Yeah, I've been talking with the social media leader for IOST. Like, they retweet our Twitter posts, and I did an interview with IOST Watch a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like that allowed us to get a lot of users incoming. And yeah, we have our own Telegram, and we just tell people to go spread the word because like they refer people, they get 25 IOST, and it's a win-win for both parties.
Dude, we have this conversation a lot because we, obviously, we're talking about cryptocurrency wide, so that often leads us to other parts of the globe. But like we often like view ourselves in such a bubble here in the United States, and it's 250 IOST is nothing to obviously like go like laugh at, right? 250 is a lot, but over there, or maybe a country in Africa or in Venezuela, if you're earning 250 IOST per day, like that could almost feed you per day.
Yeah, exactly. So Yeah, I have people in my Telegram like telling me like when the withdrawal's gonna come because like they're withdrawing like 300 IOST and they needed to like get some things. So
Wow.
I I really I really never like um never understood like how much like I like because like to us like $3 is like nothing, but yeah, it goes a long way.
Do you see where the user base is from?
Yeah, most of the users are in either US, China, or India, and those are three main categories or countries. Yeah.
Can
Nice.
this might be like a real bad question, but can all dApps see where their user base is coming from if it's only like wallets interacting with the dApp? How do you see where the users are coming from? Is it because specifically it's a survey kind of
Yeah,
dApp that you have set up?
yeah. The survey provider, it when you fill out the questionnaire, it automatically scouts your location, and then because they do that to format the survey language into the language of your country. So that's why.
Got it. That's good data, man. We worked at ICOler for a while, and we were always like working with ICO data, but it's dApps I feel like don't have a lot of good data out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. And then for the referral bonus, I just want to make sure I have everything down, so I make the maximum amount. If I
Your
invite
referral link isn't going to the
members to this, how much am I getting paid?
Yeah, so when you join the platform using a referral code, you get 25 IOST, and then for each person you refer, you get 5 additional IOST. So yeah,
Nice.
I have people referred like 50 people, and yeah.
That's cool. That's amazing. And then, so to get started, you basically go to your website. What's the best way to kind of get involved?
You can it works best with webs like Chrome or like a computer. Just go to iost.cash and like you just need to have the iWallet installed and unlocked, and you can start using it.
That's
Nice.
awesome, man. So are you planning on doing any more dApps on IOST, or are you going to continue to iterate on IOST Cash?
I think I'm gonna try to continue working on IOSD Cash until like we have because I eventually want to start like a dividends pool and maybe start like a node. So I want to build up to that point and then being able to accumulate more users to really like pay back more to the users.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's great. This was actually one of our best interviews, to be honest. You think so, Dima?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. Finally we have useful apps that actually provide to people to earning IOSTs easily. So it's amazing.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome, Alan. Well, if you have any more information about IOST Cash, about where they can find you, go ahead and let us know. If not, we can end the interview. I have to get you our Telegram link as well so that you can hop in there. We always have great combos in there.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, just follow us on Twitter. I guess our handle's at IOST Cash, and you can join our Telegram. It's on our site as well. And if you guys have any like questions, you can just message in the Telegram. I'm mostly always there.
If I'm in Texas, I'll definitely hit you up. We can meet up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Talk more.
Awesome. All right, Alan.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care.